And I'm getting a pretty strong echo. Like an echo effect, like I can hear myself when you all, like in your background.
Yeah, we are having that problem too. We apologize for that.
Yeah, I think I know why too. Let me see if I can get the. Oh, they're right here.
The headphones? Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
this will probably work better so that you won't have to deal with the echo.
Okay.
Put that in.
Okay, let's put this in our ears so it won't echo, hopefully.
Okay.
All right, let's do that.
Is that better?
Oh yeah, much better.
Okay. Well, Tim, I know we just met just a few days ago, but the first time I saw your channel, I automatically fell in love with it. You are very knowledgeable on what you do and what you're studying about.
Thank you.
The first question is what got you started on ocean liners and what age, and what is your favorite ships?
I first got started in ocean liners when I was around 6 or 7, whenever James Cameron's movie came out. I remember I went to my grandfather's house and they had Titanic on, and I asked, what movie is this? And remember, I'm little, and he told me it's Titanic, and he said, I'm like, what's Titanic? And then it just kind of sparked my interest from there on out. From that point on, I was just kind of obsessed with it for a while. Drove my parents crazy. So
mine too.
Yeah, I remember my great grandmother was born in 1909, and she died when I was around 10. And I remember we were going to go see her in a nursing home, and I was probably 8, and I said, "Mom, would she know anything about the Titanic?" And my mother said, "Sam, don't you bug her about that. She was 3 years old. She wasn't on board. She doesn't know anything about it." I'm like, okay. But yeah, the old school ocean liners are my favorite. Titanic, Lusitania is another close one to me. The Queen Mary, of course. I play the violin for fun. I play with the fiddle. And the guy who taught me, and he taught me since I was a kid, he was like a grandfather to me, but he died a couple of years ago. He was 96, so he had a really, really good life. But anyway, he served on the Queen Mary during the Second World War. So it's kind of like,
wow.
Yeah, he said that he found out that they were protecting some high-ranking British official, and he said that he found out later that it was Churchill. So that blew my mind. I don't know what voyage it was. I don't know what year. All I know is it was during the war, and that's what he told me. So I kind of have my own little tie to the ship. So.
Your grandfather?
No, a guy who taught me violin, but I knew him. I knew him for 10 plus years, so I loved him like a grandfather. He was family to me. We just weren't related. I really miss him now that he's gone. I really, really miss him.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when I went on Queen Mary, the second time I went on the Churchill suite, and I did not know that Churchill was on board until the second time I went, because I was still studying about her, and I'm pretty sure, as you well know, other than Titanic, I think the Queen Mary is the most fascinating ship, because she has so much history, because she served in a war. She has brought so many passengers over. And I think that's another love of both of ours, that, we are attached to the Mary, because there's just something about her that, it draws you near her and draws you back to her every other time or every day.
The Queen Mary was called the Gray Ghost during the war, right?
Yes, that was her nickname, because a certain someone, and I'm not mentioning who, because we're on Facebook, but a certain someone wanted to sink the Mary and the Elizabeth, and they never could because both ships were just too fast.
I'm guessing it was a certain crazy Fuhrer.
Mm-hmm.
A certain German dictator.
Seriously, if you say the name, Facebook gets upset. Seriously?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so I don't want this video to be taken down. So
okay, wow, just talking about him in context, really? Okay,
well, that's where society's gotten. But anyway, we're not gonna go on that note.
Okay.
Another question is, when did you start YouTube, and what was your first video that actually got a hit?
Well, I started YouTube. I uploaded my first video on this channel back in, oh shoot, it was probably a year ago. It's just me walking around on the Queen Mary. I was super jet lagged, so I went to bed at like 7 o'clock on the ship, and then I woke up at 4. So I'm just like, you know what? I just got dressed, took my GoPro, and I thought I'd make a video about it. So I just got up and started walking around. I'm sure you all know the Queen Mary has a reputation for being super haunted.
Yes.
So
And I believe she's haunted to this day. I really do.
I think she is too. I do have my own stories for that, but
I
decided to just walk around with my GoPro and just, be filming and talking about the history. And when I got home to review the footage, the tripod I was using, the camera got loose in it. So the whole time I'm walking around, I didn't notice it at the time, but the camera is going inside of the tripod. So the audio is you almost can't listen to it. It's so bad. So what you saw was like the only good footage I got from.
Well, you say you have stories about the Queen Mary, as it being haunted, like as do I, because I remember waking up one morning on my second trip and I saw this white figure standing in front of me, and I didn't know what.
You actually saw an apparition?
Yeah, and it blew my mind. I'm like, okay, wait a minute. I remember hearing stuff about this, so I looked it up on Google, and there is a haunting of a called the Lady in White. So I don't know if you have seen her, or have you seen any apparitions, or?
I didn't see anything, and the only thing that I can definitely say may or may not have been something. It's on my channel, but it was when I went to watertight door number 13, where the guy tried to jump through the door and it cutting. Anyway, I heard a knock right there. Like, it was completely random, completely out of the blue, very different to the same noises that I was hearing. It could have been anything. I'm not saying it was a haunting. I'm down in the engine room by myself, and I hear this very loud, like right behind me, as soon as I was done talking about what happened to the guy at watertight door number 13. And I jumped. It's on video. It's on my channel if you want to watch it.
I'm going to have to go watch it, because if that would have happened to me, I would have said, okay, I'm out.
Yeah, I'm like, this guy got cut, like this guy got pinned in this door, and I think it killed him. That's pretty nuts. I'm recreating the moment. I turn my back to it, and I'm starting to walk away, and I hear bing, and I jump. I'm like, holy crap, that scared me. Like, that's all I did.
Like, it was like, the door making that sound of what it sounded like when it's crushed them, maybe?
I don't know. It sounded like it came from the hall, so I have no idea. It didn't sound like anything weird. It just sounded like metal hitting metal. So I don't know. Maybe something fell.
Oh, by the way, Sarah and Alex, if you have any questions for them, don't ever hesitate to jump in before I ask.
Sure.
So,
yeah.
Have you studied any other liners besides the Queen Mary and Titanic?
Excuse me. I know a bit about the Olympic. I haven't dove into the history of Queen Mary or Titanic like I have Titanic, but you got to understand, Titanic I've been interested in my whole life, and then my interests tend to jump from time to time. I'm not strictly a maritime historian guy. Whatever catches my interest. I'm really into the space program. I spent a lot of time studying the Apollo stuff. As of lately, I've been really, really interested in Pompeii. It's like the volcano.
Yeah, that is interesting. Yes.
Yeah, I've been studying that a lot. The Hindenburg was on my list. There's this really, I love animation films. Like, I think animation films are like works of art, especially, have you ever heard of Studio Ghibli?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Hey, somebody jumped in. Hello.
Here's Joe, Anna. Joe.
Hey.
How's everybody?
Hello, John. How you doing?
Good.
But yeah, my interests tend to jump from time to time, whether it be Titanic, Queen Mary, whatever, anything that catches my interest. But I do know I am pretty interested into the Olympic and the Britannic as well.
All right, Joanna, you can take over because you're a lot better at these than I am.
Kipper, you've been doing good so far. What you talking about?
Well, Kipper,
what are you talking about?
can you get me up to speed a little bit? I'm just kind of coming in the middle of it.
Oh, okay. Well,
where are we streaming, by the way? I don't see it on Titanic Reflections. So
oh, did you share that?
We might want to get it shared a little bit so it's kind of going out into more than one space. Hi, it's nice to meet you. I'm Joanna.
Actually,
Dolan.
Let me, can you send, is there a way I can get the link for this? Because I'll share it on my YouTube community page. I don't have
Yeah,
a link.
sure.
And I don't want to send the link that, I don't want to send the wrong thing. So I'm not very familiar with Zoom. So,
The link to the Zoom meeting
well, like,
or
is
the
there
link
two
to
different
this?
links? Is there two different links, like a link to get them into the meeting or a link to just watch? You see what I'm saying?
I don't think there's a link to watch. Right now, we're just kind of sharing. I think there's just a way to share like the post.
Oh,
when we
that's
have
what
it-
I need. Okay, that's what I need.
You can
Okay.
share
Yeah.
the post right now. And then eventually we'll be able to upload it to YouTube, and then there'll be a YouTube link that we can share.
Mommy, you're
Um,
supposed to put this
I think there's just a way to share like the post.
I found it. Oh, that's what I found.
Yeah,
So
that's what I'm
we're,
looking for
live
right
and we
now.
can share the post live in a bunch of different groups and pages.
Hi, Joanna's daughter. Oh, no, we're
Sorry, that's why I'm late.
not.
Everybody meet the reason why I'm late. This is Amelia. Cutest
Hey.
little reason ever.
Kids will do that for you.
I'm trying to get her into
Give me just a
Titanic.
second. I found the link. I'm sharing it on my community page right now.
Awesome.
Sweet. Thank you, Samuel.
Where else could I share it?
I'm part of any other group. If you want to use my group, just share it on, just search up Titanic and just go share. Olympic, share. I'm part of like at least 200 groups, so.
So Sam, I hear that you have a YouTube channel, right?
That I do.
Okay. So I started up a little Titanic community, RMS Titanic Reflections, and so we have a little YouTube channel too. It's just getting started. We have 2 videos. How many do you have? Like probably hundreds, right?
No, I'm not that far along. I've got about, oh, hello. What's your daughter's name again?
This is Amelia.
Hi, Amelia. Hi, Amelia. I've got, I think 55, 56 videos, and I've been working
Okay.
on it since October.
Awesome. So what kind of content should we be looking for from you?
I do, well, my channel's called Historic Travels. So like Titanic is what initially sparked my interest into history, and maritime history is the #1 most important thing to me. But my interests jump around. So like when the world calms down and, you know, a certain public health crisis starts to be pushed away a little bit, you know, I want to start traveling again. But Titanic is going to be one of the main things I always focus on. You know what I mean?
Right.
Of course.
But I've been focusing on individual stories from Titanic. So like, you know about like the collapsible A and B, the 2 lifeboats that floated off, the more obscure stories. You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
What if Titanic didn't hit the iceberg? That was your recent one, I believe.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Or no, how one of my more recent ones was, could they have prevented the Titanic from sinking?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
that's
I've been-
fascinating. So,
It is
like-
basically a perfect disaster.
Right.
so what do you, I'm gonna be sure to look up your channel. I wanted to do a little research before we went live today, but
Yeah, but
chance to obviously.
mother life.
Do you do a lot of research like by books, or what is your main, you know?
A lot of this stuff is things that I've learned over, I've been into Titanic since I was about 6 or 7. So a lot of stuff that I already have a pretty vague idea on, you know, I just have to kind of refresh my memory a little bit. But I use books, I listen to podcasts. I really enjoy, and I get a lot of information from the Titanic Honor Story guys, if you're familiar with them. They're making a video game. They have a lot
Oh yeah,
of
we're
good-
familiar.
And we
Yeah,
support
the
them very much.
Game that takes over 10 years to make.
I've actually had the
longer.
pleasure of speaking with Tom Linsky before. He's a fascinating guy to speak with. He and his wife. Hi, she's back. So basically, you kind of gather information from all over, and you know you bring it all together in your videos.
Correct.
That's really cool. Hi, Alex.
Hey, Joanne. Hey.
I really enjoy, and people seem to like the what if discussions. Like one of my more recent videos, and it actually did pretty good, was what if Titanic sunk intact? So I take what happened with the Titanic and then I talk about, okay, so this is what ships typically do. So I compared Titanic to the sinking of the British. And are you familiar with a ship called the Oceanus?
Yeah,
Yes.
I watched that video you put up. It's an interesting comparison.
Yeah, like how I say how it might have leveled out. You know what I mean? Like those
Yeah,
shots.
but here's what I'm thinking. If the ship
Okay.
went down fully intact, I think like while it was on its way down, it might have, still imploded in a way because the water hadn't fully reached all the way through the stern at that point. Unless you figure fully flooded by the time it disappeared.
Well, if the water was still going through the stern, I think the ship would have continued to go down bow first at first. But you got to think the center of mass of Titanic isn't the center of the ship; it's near the engines, because the engines are the heaviest object. So wouldn't you think that once the ship completely filled and it was going down, it would shift and start going down stern first? Because the engines are the heaviest, and if there's no air keeping the stern up above, wouldn't the heaviest object? So I think Titanic could slam into the ground stern first. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I might.
Because the ship never reached an extremely high angle like we see in the James Cameron movie. What was it? 24, 25 degrees is the accepted theory.
Even at 7 years old, I'm like, there's no way that could have happened because there's.
I was always fascinated with that part of the film. That's just like the one part I always watch over and over, just how it always reached that high an angle, even though it's pretty physically impossible for it to have done so.
It's a good movie for the time, though. Listen,
Yeah.
I do not hate on the James Cameron movie at all because it's really accurate for what we knew in the 90s.
Oh yeah, I love the film. In fact, it's one of the only major Titanic films I've seen. Honest.
Have you seen A Night to Remember? The 1950 is it 1958?
I read the book, but I did not see the movie.
It's really good. The only major problem I have with it is the ship sunk intact. That's my only main issue with it.
Well, that again, like you said, that was the evidence at the time.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
that was like 1958. They didn't find Titanic stuff split in two until September of 1985. That was like another 20 years. Just like raise the Titanic. When they raised the Titanic, it was completely intact because that movie came out just a few years prior. I think it's like 1 or 2 years prior before they found her. So,
But I don't know if y'all want to dive into this topic, but even now, if you go back and look at testimony, I still have a hard time understanding why they concluded Titanic sunk intact.
Because it was Lightoller, the second officer. He was the most senior person to survive the sinking. He said it sunk intact. It's because he was the most senior official to survive. They took his word for it.
But he wasn't in a good spot to even see what the stern was doing. He's at the first funnel, dealing with, was he on collapsible B? Yeah, he wasn't, you see, but you have people in the lifeboat who could see the stern. And so many people said it broke, so I'm just like.
Yeah, I know, but that's.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I know what
Well, I
you're
think
saying.
too, it was inconceivable at the time that, such a large, luxurious, man-made marvel could break in half. Even though people said, oh yes, we saw it break in half, and then some people said, oh no, we didn't see it break in half. I think it was just inconceivable that actually happened. And
Right.
Well, I think it's more conceivable that such a ship would sink in the first place, let alone how it broke up or whatever.
And even many famous historians, bought into the theory that it didn't break in half because it was so inconceivable, and because so many eyewitnesses said, oh no, we didn't break in half. But really what it was vantage point. Some people, eyewitnesses did not see it break in half because of where they were, and some people were like literally right there and saw it break in half.
And some were very traumatized too.
Right.
So.
But I think it all goes down to.
I saw this one show a while ago that said that like the ship went down and then it broke apart underwater. And I was just like, I'm not sure how you could conclude that, especially since, again, you have all the testimony saying break on the surface.
Well, I think maybe the break started at the surface, but probably didn't actually, completely take place until maybe it was underwater.
I believe in James Cameron banana effect.
Some of the findings by Bill Lang, some of the other underwater experts, because of the debris field, the way they've described the way the debris field is laid out, how some of the artifacts and the way the things landed in the debris field, they really believe that the actual breakup, took place, farther down. But I think it probably began to break up at the surface.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but is that Charles Mangot's breakup theory? Correct me if I'm wrong. I think is that him?
I'm not sure whose original theory it is, but some people who've spent a long time like studying the debris field, and poring over where everything is laid out, but the way it emptied out, if it had broken up at the actual surface, it would have been a much, like, I think, wider array of
Well, here's what
and the
here's
way
what I'm thinking.
it
Like,
broke up, there's
here's what I'm thinking.
less
I
of a
mean,
scatter.
you got bow and section sterns of the ship. They're both going down these huge, massive objects, and they're creating this like tidal wave of water that's just sucking in everything around it. So I'm thinking like maybe the objects that you describe are sort of like caught in this turret, and they land closer together on the sea floor than further apart, like it would suggest when the ship broke up at the surface.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that makes any sense, but
Yeah, it's interesting though, to hear the experts talk about it that have actually been there. That's kind of what my YouTube channel is about. I like to interview people.
I see. I'll need to check
so-
out your channel. I'll need to check that out.
But we can honestly say that all of us don't believe in the V sinking theory, do we?
No,
Oh, come on.
That's
Please,
not
I mean,
even
almost
possible.
Please tell me
isn't
none of
it
us
obvious
believe in
that's
that.
what it was?
You would
The
have to have
V- the
something
V break.
under the
Where did
middle
that
of the
come
ship.
from?
I
and
want one
pushing
of
it
those
up.
models though. I think that's just a
That's
real classic.
ridiculous.
Before I die, I want to get one of those models of the V sinking. I think those are just really neat for my collection.
It's not even
Um,
possible.
I'm very pro as far as I kind of agree with the whole, because it's like the banana peel theory that James Cameron said.
Yeah, that's
Because
what I believe in.
I'm really, the key thing for me is that piece of double bottom,
Right,
that they
right.
found out in the debris field, because that looks like, I think it supports the whole idea that when say my hands on the ship, when the bow was going up and then it broke, the double bottom hung on while the bow pulled it down. And then that would make sense that extra piece of metal would be kind of like, flapping in the wind or flapping in the hydrodynamic current, as it's going down. And the other thing for me, and I know my English is great here, but and the other thing for me is what survivors said they saw, because so many people said it broke, and then when you go to the wreck, you see it break as well. It's just like the D-deck gangway door. You know how Light Caller ordered that door opened up and then he left it open and forgot about it? I think, and then you go to the wreck and the door is open. But people today say, oh, the door wasn't open during the sinking. Who would do that? They would say it blew open when it made contact with the seafloor. And possible, sure, that's very possible. But people said that they opened it up. And when you go to the wreck, it's open. Same with the splitting, People said it broke, and when we go to the wreck, it's split. See, that's kind of my take on it.
But the banana peel theory kind of sort of supports it didn't completely break in half at the surface.
Yeah.
The bow kind of pulled the stern under a little bit, which kind of explains some of the, implosions and some of the, severe damage to the stern, because it was actually pulled under before it completely, filled with water.
Yeah, I could go with that.
Yeah, and then you look at like Honor and Glory's video, the newest sinking one they put out. It looked like the stern almost completely capsized before it went under.
Mm-hmm. So I mean, it kind of gets pulled under. I mean, it doesn't just sink naturally. It kind of gets pulled under a little bit, and I think it gets pulled under before it completely separates from the ship. I mean, that's just my theory, but I don't know anything.
I think that's why.
That's a really good theory.
Go ahead, Kipper.
Oh, sorry. I think a lot of that's why Titanic is still around today, because there's just so many theories and conspiracies, which half of them I don't believe in. But anyway, most I lost my train of thought. Shoot. Well, anyway, that's why there's Titanic is still run today, because even though the most information we find out, Titanic is always giving us more and more and more, and you're like, okay, what more can you give us? What more information can you give us? That we can figure out how you sank, because just like Joanna and I almost said Stephen, Samuel said that Light Hauler was in the bow, like near the bow of the ship. They should have listened to Thayer, because Thayer was more near the amidship. He was more near the stern. He actually saw the bow split. And in a newspaper article, he was talking about how it split, and the newspaper person drew it doing the V. And I don't think that's what Thayer said.
I think it was
Well,
just a
wasn't that what that
concept.
drawing had?
Yes.
Well, the drawing had a V break theory, but I think didn't he say later that it didn't really break like that? He was just kind of sketching that to give you a general idea.
Right.
And then, to me, the V break theory is no different than coal fire sunk the Titanic.
Oh, don't get me started on that, please.
Oh, wait a minute,
I will go all day.
We're totally forgetting the mummy that sunk the Titanic. Isn't it awesome?
I saw people message me. They're like, "Oh, did you know a coal fire sunk the Titanic?" I'm like,
but no, I
Ancient
really
curses.
I thought it was the
I
Ruby
really
Eye.
think it's interesting though that the coal fire, because the Titanic Honor and Glory guys talked about it makes sense that the coal fire actually kept the Titanic from capsizing, where they moved
yeah,
the
that's
coal.
Park Stevenson's theory.
Oh, Park Stevenson said that.
Yeah, he actually said, and I talked to him about this before and had him, actually explain it in his own words. He's someone. Okay, just a moment. He's someone I'd like to talk to again in the near future. But the way he explained it is, yes, there was a coal fire on the Titanic. Okay, so what they did, the stokers or the firemen, they moved. This was part of them, trying to manage it, and the coal fires were very common at the time. And it was a smoldering fire. So what they did was they moved. I mean, you have to think there were literally tons of coal on the Titanic. Right. So what they did was they moved tons of coal from one side of the ship to the other, which caused literally a port list, which was visible.
But it was barely noticeable. Like I remember one passenger saying like you could barely notice it when you were going down the stairs or something like that.
Right. But so Park Stevenson said that that I think Thomas Andrews estimated that the Titanic would sink in about an hour and a half, but we all know that it took a little bit longer than that to sink. So the theory is that with there being more coal on one side of the ship, as water was coming in on the other, it kind of, caused it to, balance a tiny little bit.
Well, you also got to consider, like, you see in like very sinking animations how like the ship is going down for like the first 50 minutes or so, and then it sort of like stops for a while and then like rapidly accelerates. I think that was due to like, the first 6 compartments that were breached, they were like filling up to full completion, and then, as we've all know, leaking into the next one, and then the ship keeps going down, going into the next one, and so on and so on.
But with the extra coal on the one side of the ship, Park Stevenson said that may have actually bought it a few, maybe 20, 30 extra minutes, it kind of balanced the buoyancy of it just a little tiny bit, because you think you have a few extra tons of coal or maybe an extra ton of coal on one side of the ship, that may have bought it an extra few minutes, which allowed for, all of the lifeboats to be lowered at least. I mean, yeah, they weren't completely full and they should have been, but, at least all the lifeboats, at least all of the non-collapsible lifeboats were lowered.
If anything,
and it overestimated Thomas Andrews' estimate of an hour and a half. I mean, it's an interesting theory. So the coal fire may have actually bought Titanic an extra, precious few minutes.
If anything, because it's what they were talking about, like that when she first started to go down, she had a list to starboard, the side that she hit the berg. And then it's like she stabilized for a time. Like, say, I talk with my hands. I use it to represent what I'm talking about. When Scotland Road started to flood and that D-deck gangway door started to flood, she started leaning to port.
Yeah.
So to me, I'm actually surprised that with the extra weight of coal on the port side, Scotland Road and the D-deck door, that she didn't capsize to port. That actually that's kind of surprising.
I remember reading that, and I think it was Lightaller who said that like everybody should run to the other side of the ship to stabilize her, or at least make it so that the list wouldn't become so extreme that the ship would capsize potentially.
I don't know, whatever it was, it kind of worked just for a little while, to buy him a few extra minutes. So, I mean, I don't know. It's just one of those mysteries, that.
It's fun to speculate about,
Yeah, it's definitely interesting to speculate about. And then Park also has the shelving theory. He thinks that Titanic ran up on a shelf of ice that may have some damage to the bottom of it.
I'm not so sure about that one.
I mean, nobody's so sure about that one, but that's another like Parks theory that's interesting, because there was, I think, water coming up in one of the bottom, the floor area of one of the boiler rooms.
Boiler
why
room
was
4, I think. Is that what they said?
that? I think so. Boiler room 4. Why
Correct me
was
if I'm wrong, but I didn't think boiler room 4 flooded till around 2 a.m. So very, very late in the disaster. So
I don't know.
Yeah,
why was it coming up from
number
the
4
floor?
like under the number 3 funnel?
yeah.
I don't know.
Was that number 2?
It's one of those weird things. Why? If there was no damage to the bottom of the ship, why would it be coming up from the bottom? I mean,
Well, I always had the idea of like if there was damage to the bottom of the ship, it would have potentially helped sink that much faster.
right. I mean, it's just weird though. I mean, it's just some of these questions that'll never be answered.
Does anybody know? This is just a curious question, and I don't know this, but Titanic's double bottom. If you could get into the underneath the flooring and get into the double bottom, was it one massive room, or was it blocked off by each bulkhead? Like, I'm curious what was underneath.
Yeah, that's
I'm
something
pretty sure it was
I
blocked off by
remember.
each bulkhead through the double
if,
bottom.
If the water could somehow find a way into the double bottom when boiler room 4 started to flood, that could explain why the water seemed to come up. That's just
True. Now
But I
that's a
don't-
good
Yeah,
question.
and
I really
you
don't
say
know.
the water in boiler room 4. Does anyone remember when that was seen, or was that like right away?
No,
Boiler
I
room
don't
4 was
know.
underneath the second funnel. So 6 and 5 was the first, 4 and 3 was the second, and then 2 and 1 were 3. But boiler room 1 was never lit. I don't think it was ever turned on. Period. Hi.
She's so
Hey.
cute. Oh
It's
my
fun to be
goodness.
poor.
Now, a lot of people said, why didn't the Olympic come to the rescue? And I always tell people, because I think Olympic was like over 500 miles away.
It was.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it just left New York, or pretty close.
What did the Olympic could have done? Even if she was like, fast at the SS United States, she still wouldn't have made it.
And the Titanic class ships weren't built for speed.
If I'm not mistaken, I think there's a whole book written about the Olympics experience that night. Olympic, I wish I could remember the name of it. Maybe after we finish up here, I'll Google it and put it in the comments. But the Olympic was on its way. As soon as they got the word, they were on their way to try to, get there as quickly as possible.
She didn't arrive until like the 18th, I think, if I remember correctly. I think she arrived
I thought
until
like
3
they
days
said
later.
they were coming, but then the Carpathia restaurant said don't come because they said like if Titanic survivors all of a sudden saw another ship like Titanic show up, it'd be like a ghost ship or something.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Which I agree with, because I know a lot of people with PTSD. And I asked them. I mean, they're not in the ships, but I did ask them. It's okay, Alex. I did ask them, and they said, yeah, if I would have just saw a ship that just sank with 1,500 lives, and I would have saw almost an identical ship, they would probably start screaming.
Well, as someone with PTSD, because I have PTSD, I probably would have freaked out too. Like, you would be in the lifeboat wondering, wait, did what happened literally just happen? So I can definitely understand where that's coming from.
Yeah, me too. I can completely understand that.
I think
that
the
would
name
be
of the book is like
freaky.
Speeding Through the Night or something like that. But it's supposed to be a really good book about the Olympics. Olympics experience that night.
Again,
I don't think I have it.
I don't know about Olympics experience that whole night, but I have this one.
Oh, that's cool.
I need to get that. That's what I want to get. I
Oh,
need to
very
get
good.
that.
Yeah, that's
I like
That is
Mark
about
Churnside.
Olympics whole career.
That is really cool.
Again, I don't know how the crew of the Olympic or anybody was supposed to help at that moment because, like I said, they were 500 miles away, and like
And
like
I
y'all
think
said,
like by
they
the
weren't
time
built for speed. Whatever they're supposed to do, they weren't going to be survivors. In that icy cold Atlantic water, or even in the lifeboat, there would have been no way the survivor would have lasted. It was like minus 20 degrees just on the outside.
And I think
Yeah.
like by the time Olympics said that they were coming, Titanic's bridge was pretty close to being underwater at that point.
Yeah, so there would have been nothing they could do.
Yeah,
Right.
so it's like
Racing through
yeah,
the
it's
night.
nice, but
Yeah, I just found
it's
it,
too late.
Sarah. Racing through the night.
We had like 2 people comment on the live video saying that that's
Thank
what they were
you.
looking for. Thank
Yes,
you guys.
by Wade Sisson. Racing through the night, Olympics attempt to reach Titanic by Wade Sisson. And let's see, you can find it on Amazon. Racing through the night.
Yeah, you
by
can also
Wade-
find this Olympic.
See, I knew I had seen it recently. I was like, I think it's a fairly new book. Let me see.
Yeah, it just came out in 2019, I believe. It's by Mark Churnside.
No, oh, I'm talking about this book, Racing Through the Night. It's a book about Olympics, the events that took place on the Olympic the night the Titanic sank.
Yeah, we do.
By Wade Sisson, if
Mhm.
anybody wants to know.
That's cool.
Um,
That's really cool.
on the floor. Amelia, please, honey. Okay.
If we're talking about like post-traumatic stress, though, I think what was the worst part of the evening, and people talk about in the testimony, is after the ship went down and
Get
listening
down.
to the people in the water. I think that was the worst part of the entire evening for the people in the lifeboats.
Can you imagine what it'd been like to be in a lifeboat and then just hearing? Oh, Joanna went on mute. She must be talking to her daughter. Can you imagine what it'd been like in the lifeboat and knowing your child, your husband, your daughter, your cousin, your friend is out there, and some of these officers who, in my opinion, were idiots. They did not want to go back because of overcrowding, but half the lifeboats weren't even filled to capacity. So they have to sit there and listen to their family member or their friend die. I can't even imagine what
But
that
you see,
psychologically.
They teach that though with like life jackets and like lifeguards, because if you go to save someone, there's a very good chance that if they're panicking, they'll pull you down. So if you've got lifeboats that can hold 1,200 total, and you've got 1,500 plus 1,500 in the water, I mean, you could easily get swamped. I mean,
Right.
I hate to think that, but people who are in a panic and in survival mode, I mean, I don't like the decision, but I understand it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess,
Yeah.
but I don't like it either. I really.
I mean,
If they
if
could have
you-
went back and saved just like a few extra people, especially the children that were in the water, or at least
I
the
think
wives.
they waited
Yeah.
too long. I think they waited too long to go back, but I understand why they didn't initially because, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
which is sad.
yeah. I mean, it was an impossible situation. Impossible.
And nope, it's a lose-lose.
Yeah.
And
You don't want to become a victim yourself trying
Right.
to save people. Look at because think about collapsible A and B. Collapsible A is a better example because people were panicking while they were trying to get that lifeboat ready, and because they tried to tie. It was A, right, that they tried to collapse that they tied to the falls, but Titanic
Mhm.
slipped away.
I think
B was
classical
the-
A. I think
Yeah,
classical
B
A
was
and
the one
classical
that
B.
capsized. Anyway, all these people are crowding into this lifeboat before they're even ready, and it's still tied to the falls. So I mean, look what happened with that. I think collapsible A was one of the worst places to be that night. Personally,
I'm surprised that boat didn't sink with the ship. Surprised they got it loose.
I've heard two things, and I don't know which is true. I've heard they either cut the ropes holding it to the ship, or I've also heard that an officer shot the ropes. I don't know which is true.
That would have been interesting to see.
Hi.
Yeah.
Another sinking ship mystery is Titanic's sister, Britannic. I want to Salem. I don't know why. I must be tired. Samuel, I don't know how much you've done studies on the Britannic, but there's been a lot of questions surrounding her saying why is she in better condition or why does she sink so much quicker than the Titanic? And I always say, I mean, I don't know how you feel about it, but I always say, well, one, that day was really humid and they didn't I get, after they dropped some of the people off, the soldiers, and the wounded, they forgot to shut the door. Forgot to shut the windows, and they forgot to shut the
Well,
portholes.
Well,
Yeah,
the thing with Britannic is that the mine that she hit, the blast had like had to transform the frame of the ship so that the doors couldn't shut.
I believe it jammed up in 2 doors, if I'm not mistaken. I believe.
I think so. Yes.
And
Yeah,
they kept the ship moving throughout the whole time. That just accelerated the rate of sinking.
Right, because they were close to shore. They were trying to beach it on Kia Island.
Mm-hmm.
Which
Same
I
thing
think,
happened-
which I
Same
think
thing
was a
happened
bad
with
idea.
Titanic, but on a smaller scale.
So actually, I'm glad you said that. I want to jump back to Titanic because I'm curious about your all's take on it. Because I heard a theory from one of the James Cameron films, and I don't have any reason to hate the theory, but it doesn't seem like the right thing to do to me. So I'm curious what everybody here thinks. What does everybody think about the theory of taking the Titanic in the early stages of the sinking and running it backwards to California? Drive the ship in reverse because you're not adding any more pressure to the front of the ship, so it wouldn't increase the water flow. But
I'm not sure if I've heard this theory.
I
yeah, like
haven't
they
either,
say,
but
run
that
it because they say the Britannic sunk so fast because they are moving it forward, and the increased water pressure would force the bow deeper and deeper into the water, which I completely understand. But if you run the ship in reverse, you wouldn't add any more pressure to the front. Well, maybe not much more pressure. I'm sure there'd be a little bit, but it just doesn't seem like the right thing to do to me. But I don't have a reason to hate it.
It's not something you would logically think of. I mean, no one thinks of going to your destination stern first.
Well, yeah, but like you see the Californian out in the distance. I'm like, that's an interesting idea. I don't
you
know.
gotta put yourself there in the moment. Like your main concern is like trying to get everybody off the ship safely. Are you really gonna try and do something that really seems really far-fetched, like putting the ship completely to reverse and going this way, especially when the bow was already down by this much?
Yeah, but assume that they did. Do you think it could work? That's my question. Or do you think it would be similar to the Britannic going down, where she sunk in less than an hour?
To me, either way, the water would have still went in. Either way,
you still got water coming in, and I think any kind of motion would. I mean, especially like they vented the, like they had vented all the steam through the funnels. So like you would have to build that all up again, and you got the 2 boilers, the boiler rooms that were out of commission because they've just been flooded. So if Titanic was to move anywhere after it had stopped, it wouldn't be going anywhere very fast. But again, I believe it would just only hasten the sinking.
Yeah,
and wouldn't it be slowly going into the bow to where you're going backward for a little while, but you're slowly going up like this? Wouldn't it like go like that because the water's coming in the bow?
Yeah.
Well, then eventually, like the ship's still going down by the head. Eventually, if you're going backward, like you say, eventually, like the propellers would be out of the water, and then you wouldn't be moving anywhere.
But that didn't happen until very late. And as far as your comment about them venting the steam, the way they did it with Britannic is they vented them as the water started to come in. So it's like first they vented 6 and 5, and the whole time the ship was moving until right up the final plunge. So
that's intriguing. I don't know.
It's an interesting because the funnels.
I think it would have made it difficult to lower the lifeboats if it was moving backwards.
True.
Period. Because I mean, I think they struggled enough as it was. Lowering the lifeboats, so I think it would have prolonged, evacuation of the ship. I don't think it would have really bought it any time.
It's an interesting thought.
That's really an intriguing theory.
I've never heard of it before, but I don't know. It just seems like one of the less probable ones for me. But that's just me.
It's one of those. It's just it doesn't seem like the right thing to do, but it's like I don't have a reason to hate it, but I wouldn't do it.
I would be interested to
I've
see
heard
somebody
worse
try that with a
theories.
model.
Right.
You know, I mean, I would just be really interested to see somebody take a model, like a scale model, and
A ship model
know.
for those in the chat.
yeah, it's a ship model. Thank you, Kipper. I would be interested to see that on like a scale model of the ship with some, you know, iceberg damage to it, and
See how
what
it
kind of backwards motion, see what that would do as far as I mean, I don't know. I mean, it couldn't hurt. Just I don't know.
But I do agree. The biggest problem was power, because you do know the engineers were having a time keeping the lights on. You know.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
I'm
you know,
surprised they had them
were into
on
flight
that long to
and-
begin with.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's an intriguing. There would be a lot of if factors to that one, because if they could keep things going, and if they could actually produce backward motion, if you know, there's a lot of ifs there. That's interesting.
Well, then there's also the idea of like, I remember hearing like Britannic, they were trying to like steer Britannic towards the end, of like the steering mechanism stopped working. So it's like Britannic almost went around in like a circle before she finally went down.
A group member, Peter Guy, suggested a computer sim of that would be fascinating. Yes, that would be such a much better idea than my get a model. I'm old.
Hey, don't.
I just
you are not old, Joanna. Don't start.
Don't underestimate the power of models. Have you all seen the 20 Years Later with James Cameron? Where
Yes, I love that one.
Yes, that his model. That's exactly what I was thinking of. His model simulation in 20 Years Later. But yes, the
like a
computer
lifeboat thing there on that
would probably be a lot simpler.
Yeah, but there's something about actually seeing it. Like the only problem I have with computers is you have to be careful with what data you put in, because I heard this expression and it's perfect. You take a computer simulation. Have you ever heard what is it? GIGO, which stands for garbage in, garbage out. So you have
if
to.
you put in exactly.
Right.
If you put in the wrong information, then you know it could be a false sim. Yes, I agree with that too. And I like hands-on kind of stuff, because you're like, yes, I for one like Steve Santini's model. I will just shamelessly plug this, because I had one for a short period of time and actually played with it. Anywho, but his model is great, because all y'all collectors out there, you're gonna hate me. His model is really great because you get to actually see it fill up with water and then break apart and sink. It's so delightful. I cannot even begin to tell you. But it's really hands-on, and I love stuff like that. So I'm thinking like a sinking model like that, but like in reverse. That would just be so cool.
About that model, that toy from like a long time ago that actually.
I am speaking of that one.
Oh man, I had one of those as a kid. I cannot find it now. Oh, I know it's at my parents' house somewhere, but those are expensive now. Have you looked them up? Like how much money they go for?
They're like $200, $300. That's
Oh no!
Oh no, my friend.
Really?
So much more than that.
Yeah, I've seen them up 1,000 plus.
Yes.
I didn't even make that in a paycheck.
For a short time. Anywho, moving right along. Let's see. What's next? Okay, so
he's also into Lusitania. We can ask him a Lusitania questions. Lusitania theories.
Lusitania. That's always a fascinating subject. Sam, what do you have any videos on your channel about Lusitania?
I did make a video about Lusitania, yes. A 16-minute summary of the entire tragedy. So like I go over the U-boats, I talk about the German warning, I talk about Captain Turner, I talk about a little bit of how the Lusitania was built. I read the book Dead Wake, which is about.
It's a good video, guys. Watch it.
Yeah, I read that book too. It's a good book.
Great book. I mean, and it doesn't just go over the Lusitania. Was it President Wilson? Was he president at the time?
Yes.
Yeah. It
talks
about his
Wilson,
mental
my bad.
state.
Titanic.
Like, and it's an incredible book, and I got a lot of my information from that. And that's actually going to be a topic for a future video, is about U-20. the submarine that sunk the Lusitania, I'm going to talk about a bit of its history because the U-20 and Captain Spieger, the German captain, they had some interesting stories as well. So I think that'd make an interesting video.
Okay.
Right now, this is the only book I have on the Lusitania. I came across it at the Goodwill, but I really want to learn more about it. But this is a really cool, like,
think I have three, don't
vintage
I?
book. It's
That
a,
is really
They
cool.
have two.
it's
Actually,
a,
hang on 1 second, guys. I will be right back. Give me 2
Okay.
seconds.
this is actually a fiction book about the Lusitania. I mean, number one, you don't see a lot of Lusitania stuff out there, period, let alone like a fictional Lusitania book.
Have you
So,
have you all
I
seen
mean,
the
that's
movie?
kind of like bizarre, huh?
Have you all seen the Lusitania documentary movie? It's called Titanic Terror at Sea. It's really good. It's really interesting.
Why would it be called Titanic Terror at Sea if it's about?
Lusitania. Oh my god.
Lusitania.
You just have like Titanic on the brain. Don't worry, I do too. But anyway, so Lusitania stuff is hard to find. So I felt like I was so excited when I found this, at the Goodwill for $1. I was like, woo, Lusitania stuff.
Here
But
we go.
anywho, because you just don't find that very often.
I'm going to go get my
Our light
this
just
is my
moved by
model
itself.
of
That's
Lusitania.
pretty-
I have a
Oh,
little-
cool.
Oh,
That's pretty neat.
I need to buy me a Lusitania model.
Is that Titanic
I
Honor
have
and
the-
Glory?
I have the
Yeah.
Titanic,
Model?
Olympic, and Britannic models.
got-
of Honor and Glory.
I have Lusitania.
I'm still waiting for mine.
It's a little beat up, but I've got
Yeah, Tom.
Titanic,
Oh, right.
and I've also got the Britannic.
Oh, cool.
I have Britannic in
Ooh, I
her
like
White
that.
Star colors as she was,
Oh,
supposed to
really?
go
That's
in
cool.
in
Awesome.
peacetime.
Go get it, Alex. We want to see it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
we're all
just a
like
sec.
little collectors of stuff. I have so much
Hold on a
stuff.
minute. Let me go get my models real quick.
One of the things I want to do in my group,
I like some of
RMS
them.
Titanic Reflections,
Right.
I want to do like a show and tell night, like one Friday night. I want to do like a show and tell night, and everybody like sign up to like just bring on their Titanic stuff.
And any artifacts. That's cool.
Yeah,
Well,
bring on
actually-
their like stuff,
Here, this
and
is what I
just,
got.
show off their stuff. I think that would be so fun because everybody has stuff.
Oh, that's
Oh,
super
that's
cool.
cool.
I'm gonna need your help. You're putting all these
Here's-
back later.
This is Britannic.
Oh, that's neat. You don't always see it in like the.
You see the huge davits that only Britannic had.
Awesome.
Oh,
Guys,
wow,
I just
like
ordered some
that.
Britannic wood, so now I'm gonna have a piece of all 3 ships.
That is super cool. This
I
Lucky.
can't wait for it to get here.
I'll show you guys
Lucky.
this. This is my family. My family found this and gave it to me for Christmas last
I
year.
also have a baby nomadic.
Oh,
Oh, that's
I don't have a
awesome.
pneumatic. I want a pneumatic. That's
That
so
is
cute. Where'd
super
you get
cool.
that? Is that Honor and Glory also?
Yeah, it's Honor and Glory. And I got this.
Oh, cute.
This was a huge.
Oh, dude, I came back.
Christmas
Christmas.
Oh,
What
wow,
is
look
that?
at that.
Oh, that's a nice one.
Oh, nice. Alex, I'm jealous. I like it.
Yeah, it's the centerpiece of my
Sorry.
collection.
That's
oh,
awesome.
I love that. That is really nice.
We
This
do
is
have
a,
a question though. I'm
yeah.
gonna ask this real quick. Tyler Adams wants to know historic travels. I was wondering whether you could cover the unknown child on your channel.
The Unknown Child.
Oh yeah,
Well,
the-
Unknown Child is known now, isn't it?
I feel like I've heard that before, but I'm drawing a blank here.
The
Yeah.
unknown
Isn't it
child is the
Sydney Goodwin,
child they
right?
found in the Atlantic, and no one knows where the parents were or nothing.
Did they find her after the sinking? Was she in Titanic's debris field?
I think so. Yes. Hold on, let me try this.
Yeah,
Well, I
I'm
thought
a-
the unknown child was identified by DNA and was
Check off
found to be
there.
Sydney Goodwin, wasn't it?
I can't remember. We're gonna turn on the background here in a minute. Here, wait. Just exit. None.
We lost
So we
Alex.
can show.
Okay.
What?
There's my queen. Oh shoot! I have to go the opposite direction. Here's one of my Queen
Rachel
Mary
Young
models.
says he has a Lusitania keychain. Let's see, what else do we see in here in the comments?
I can't see the comments. I can't see what all that is.
Okay, I'm done.
It's like reversed. So I'm trying to
Okay.
go this
Opposite
way.
way.
and-
Opposite.
Yeah,
That's
so
my
Tyler
new-
Adams said it was the 18-month-old Sydney Goodwin, who was identified in 2007. So he wants you, so Tyler wants you to do like a segment about Sydney Goodwin.
Okay.
You know who could help you out with that is probably Bill Willard.
It's the United States. She's so fast, you can't see.
He knows a lot about the DNA and stuff like that.
There's-
You know, now that y'all are
there's a lot of
talking,
them.
I do feel like I've heard about this. I haven't researched it in depth. Didn't they like weren't they able to find like a small bone and do DNA tests on it? Am I thinking
Yes,
of the
there
right
was
thing
like
here?
they did exhume the body, and most
If
of
I
it
drop
was
one of
gone.
these, I'm gonna cry.
There was a small bone fragment, I believe, under a piece of ornamental metal in the casket.
Mm,
So that's how they were able to extract the DNA, was from just a small little fragment of bone, and it
that's
was
crazy.
found to be Sydney Goodwin.
Okay.
They thought it was another child. I forgot who they thought it was to begin with.
That would be a really interesting video
Again, my
talking
memory's
about
not
that
the
whole
greatest.
process.
But Bill Willard knows a lot about the DNA kind of stuff at the grave sites up there in Canada. I forgot.
That's really
Um,
cool. That's very interesting.
I do have a
But yeah.
question for Alice. For second explosion. What do you think it was? I know
Second
this part.
explosion.
Yeah, on
Are you talking
Lusitania.
about Lusitania? Oh,
Yes.
Lusitania. Okay.
Explosion on the Lusitania?
We jump ships on this, so I was like,
Sorry. Well,
We
I-
jumped quite a few ships.
yeah. You think it
Second
was-
explosion?
Yes.
That was her, like around the time the second funnel fell?
no, like right after the torpedo hit.
It was like that's what a minute after.
Okay, Lusitania. Well, there was a second explosion. I think, like, you all of a sudden you got this onlet of water. I mean, all of a sudden, like, water comes into contact with the boilers. Right, it's an explosion.
Yeah, but the thing is, I don't think they heard any explosion when Titanic sank. Did they?
Well,
I
I
thought there
actually.
was.
Go ahead.
I thought there was something like where some survivors heard like 4 booms deep within the ship.
During the
Yeah,
final
I was
plunge.
going to say they did hear explosions when Titanic sank.
Oh, okay.
Like
The-
right,
the
like
biggest-
right around the time when the water reached the boat deck.
Yeah, the biggest question is why was there a secondary explosion
Right.
on Lusitania right after the detonation before the final way before the final plunge? Yet after Titanic struck the berg and boiler room 6 flooded, why was there no explosion? Because it was still fully pressurized. And I actually made a video about that. And my theory is that it took them a little, they didn't have to evacuate boiler room 6 immediately. It was flooding very fast, but they had time to, vent the steam and try to deal with the boilers to an extent. That's my theory.
So on Lusitania, they didn't have time to do those things. So that it very well could have been like a boiler explosion or something due to, not having time to vent or something like that.
I
Right.
leaned more towards the weapons theory, but
You
I
think
don't.
so?
Yeah,
Yeah, I was trying to pull everybody away from the munitions and stuff like that. I was trying to come up with an alternate
Well,
theory.
that's what I say in my
That way.
video is I think it was the munitions.
I do
my-
believe so too. I mean, I make it heat for, but I do believe Lusitania was carrying ammunition because she did in the past. She was secretly.
Okay.
So anyway,
All right, I have another question for Sam that's coming in from a viewer. Okay,
Okay.
this is from Tanner Lilly. It says, I also do have a question for Sam, a fellow Sam at that, as my middle name is Samuel. Would you by chance be interested in the blueprints of the worst peacetime maritime disaster, the Dora Paz X?
Is it Dora or Donia Paz?
I think it's Doña Paz.
Dora?
Yeah, okay,
It's
there
like
it is. I'm sorry.
Doña.
Again, I'm blind and old. Doña Paz
Doña.
X Human. I can't read the rest of it. Of 1963.
So would I be interested in the blueprints of it, or would I be interested in making a video about it?
She said, he says the blueprints.
I mean, sure, and that was something a viewer recommended to me during one of my live streams, so it's definitely on my list. Sure. I mean, feel free to contact me through the Facebook group and all that. I mean, I would love to talk to you about it.
Wasn't she a Russian ship, or am I thinking of the Admiral Himov? Russia's Titanic. I can't remember.
I don't know. I can't even tell what it is. Also,
I can't read all those words. I'm sorry.
me either.
You're fine.
Here, you need these?
Okay. make fun of my age one more time. No. Tanner says, I also have one of the only photos of the ships from a profile view.
From the profile view. Interesting.
Mm,
Yeah, just
interesting.
please contact me. Please reach out to me on the Facebook group. You'll see me there. I post there all the time. Please reach out to me in a private message and we can talk about it. I would love to talk to you.
All right, and Tanner says, Admiral, oh my goodness, these words. Nakimov was Soviet.
Right.
German built in 1925.
Oh yeah, as the SS Berlin. Yes.
Anything like outside, I try to do what I can, but I'm usually like Titanic related, but
Yeah, I'm more of the.
You probably did better than I would have pronouncing that.
Yeah. One of the toughest Lusitania wasn't too hard of a video for me to make because I'm fairly familiar with it. But the hardest video I've made to date was about the Wilhelm Gustloff, the German ship that was
I love
sunk
that
in World War
story.
II. Yeah, but that video was so hard for me to make because I was so unfamiliar with it. You know, like I didn't know. So it's like it's easier to make videos on Titanic and the British maritime history because we know it. But listen, it's tough researching these videos, and I wanted to do it right. The Wilhelm Gustloff was the worst ocean disaster in history. Over 9,000 died.
The reason why so many people forget about the Wilhelm Gustloff and the Cap Arcona is because they were lost in war, and people just zoned them off to wartime tragedies.
Lusitania was lost in war, and people know about that.
I know, but that's what freaking so
Lusitania was
confusing
more
to me.
like it was carrying like civilians, though. I mean, I think
So was
people
the
do
Gustloff.
forget about some of the wartime tragedies.
But
Lusitania was,
the Gustloff was also
civilian.
big. It was a cruise ship.
Oh, really?
Yes,
Yeah,
it was
I'm trying to learn more outside. I've learned about Olympic, Titanic, Britannic. I'm starting to learn
You see,
more about Lusitania.
the
I've learned a
whole-
little bit about the Edmund Fitzgerald and some of the
Edmund
Great Lakes
Fitzgerald.
tragedies.
You know about as much as I do, Joanna.
I'm
You
starting
see-
to try to like branch out a little bit.
I'm a walking encyclopedia of shit. So
Kipper is not lying. He's not lying at all. I ask him things and he just like rattles stuff off, and I'm like, how do you know this stuff?
because I've been studying it for almost like 20 years, about 20
I'm
years.
sorry.
So that's why I know all this stuff.
Don't do that. Don't do that. Let's see. Tanner Lily's coming back with, I like the forgotten foreign ships. Among my favorites is Tampama Nas, two Indonesian operated car ferry from Japan, which sunk by fire in 1981. Just had the 40th anniversary a month ago. I know I'm just massacred the name of that. I'm so terribly sorry.
My glasses are right here if you need them.
Okay, what was it, Kipper? What is the name of that ship that I just totally
Wait.
just destroyed?
Tell your daughter I like her pink headphones.
Do you like her?
Also, while I'm
pink
on
headphones?
Lusitania, I also have this. I also have this book as well.
Tampamas 2.
Oh, that's
cool.
Oh,
Who's
I didn't
that
get
by,
that.
Alex?
It's
J. Kent Layton?
J. Kent Layton.
Lovely.
It was a bit of a
Very
spend.
nice.
It was like $80.
Yeah, I was gonna say some of Layton's books are very hard to get.
Yeah, so was this other Titanic one I got. It was by a bunch of authors. It's this one.
Dude, I want
Oh,
that book
I
I
have
so
use that
bad.
book all the time.
Which edition do you have? Hold on.
Oh, there she goes.
I believe this is the second one. I believe.
Is yours hardback?
We're all geeking out.
No, this is paperback.
Mine's a
ship.
hardback.
No, here's my ship. Here's my ship.
Well, that's what the podcasts
Yeah.
are for.
Mine-
Are we all showing our books?
But where'd y'all get
It's the
those? I
second
can't
edition
find mine.
hardback.
We're not in the club.
We don't have any. I can't find any.
You're missing out.
I use this book all the time for my videos. As far as I'm concerned, this book is the Bible on Titanic. As far as
Yep.
I'm
Where
Okay.
did y'all get yours from? Seriously, I want to know. I want a copy.
Hold on a second. That reminds me.
Mine
of
was
another
a
one.
very, very, very lucky eBay find. To find
I
this
found it
for
on Amazon.
$dollars was like very lucky.
And you
It's a
got a hard
hardback
copy.
second edition.
How much are they?
This hardback
that
I've
one I
seen for
think
up to
The time I
$300.
got it was like 30 something dollars.
Wow.
Um,
I think I just
The-
had a heart
the-
attack.
The paperbacks are a little bit more reasonable.
I'll go with
Okay,
paperback.
who has Ship Magnificent? The box set.
This I should wait. What is it?
Who has Ship Magnificent? The box set of Ship Magnificent.
I do not.
I think I got that too.
I'm not gonna go get that because it's terribly heavy and I drop it every time I pick it up. So I'm not gonna do.
Most of my ship stuff is in a tote.
This
Yeah.
I also
This-
got this one. It's called 1912 Facts About Titanic.
Oh yeah, I
I
got
got
that
it
book.
too.
I got that book.
I've actually
I carried this thing around for years. I had one before it. It practically disintegrated because I was carrying it everywhere as
Yeah,
a paperback.
Is yours signed
Yeah,
by
so
Lee
is mine.
Meredith?
No, it's not. I got this one down in Florida when I went and saw the museum down there.
Mine's signed by Lee Meredith, and I've talked to him before. A very nice man.
Yeah.
This
Cool.
this book right here.
Yes.
This,
You do
this
not
is
get
one
He's
of
a
the-
very nice man.
He is
Yeah.
amazing.
This is one of
Yeah,
the coolest
truly
pieces
amazing.
that I ever found. This is a journal from a woman who actually sailed on the Olympic in 1925. Like
What's it
Oh,
called?
that's awesome.
this is a real journal with dates in it from, and it
Real
even when I
journal.
found this,
Oh what?
it had a little paper in it with a White Star Line logo. This is original.
Dude.
Okay.
And
Okay,
inside,
here's some more
inside
comments.
is,
Peter says, I have the Leighton book on Lusitania. I think it's retailing for about $1,000 on Amazon.
Whoa.
I am not I
Um,
am not buying $1,000. I'm sorry, Mr. Layton. I don't have that kind of cash on me just out of my pocket.
Wasn't that?
Oh, here you
wasn't that
go.
expensive for me.
Uh,
Must have been good timing.
okay, Hunter Young says, I have a question for you guys. What do you know about the Empress of Ireland?
oh, I love the Empress of Ireland. Her interiors were gorgeous. She's not my favorite
Canada's
Empress, of
Titanic,
course,
right?
but
that was Canada's Titanic, correct?
yes.
Yes. I
That
knew that much
happened.
about it.
The reason why she didn't get a lot of
That's it.
fame for it is because the Titanic sinking just happened
Did it?
um,
You're thinking
about 2 years prior.
1914, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was
It
like
hit
right
another
during
ship
like
and
right near
it
the water.
capsized. It capsized pretty quick, correct?
Yeah, it went down like 18 minutes, I think.
Kind of like
Uh-huh.
Lusitania.
Yeah.
except
went down,
this-
like, really
except this
quick.
one fully capsized.
But
She's
it's not
not
too deep, is it? Like you can dive it, right?
Yeah, it's like Britannic, basically. She sank off the Lawrence River, so
I don't know a ton about the Empress, but I do know there was a Titanic survivor on it.
Oh, really? I didn't know that one.
Wow.
The Empress of Ireland is a very unique story. So is Canadian Pacific. Their luck with ships wasn't always the
Almost.
greatest. They
It's
usually
almost
lost a
10
ship to a
minutes.
sinking or to war. Like the Empress of Britain, that was my favorite Empress
I'm not muted.
from the I'm not muted. Oops. Um,
I want to know what they're gonna eat.
yeah. What are you gonna eat? Pizza? Come on in. Hello, we're hungry here.
Thank you.
The Empress of Ireland, I think that, like I said, the reason why she's forgotten because she sank right before World War I started. Because I know her sister was made into a troop ship, the Empress of Britain or like it was her sister ship. And number two, oh, that's adorable. And number two,
Hmm.
I think more. There's just, I think almost as much as people died on the Empress of Britain than Titanic. I think like at least 1,100 people died on the Empress of Ireland, if I remember correctly.
It was bad, I know that. The Empress of Ireland reminded me of a worse Andrea Doria. It seemed like it was a
Yeah.
very similar case to what happened to the Andrea Doria. Just
And
a
the
lot
Andrew and the Andrea Doria was sadly, I hate saying this, but was the end of ocean liner going travel because people then started to feel more safe on airplanes. I don't know why, but
Yeah, because everybody survives an airplane crash, right?
yeah. Me, I'd rather still, go on a ship because, at least on a ship, you have more of a chance to get into a lifeboat. On an airplane, if something happens, well, you're screwed.
That's what I keep saying, and everybody's just like, you're full of it. And I'm just like, okay.
Everybody has their own thing.
Yeah, I don't care for airplanes, but I know there's some people that do.
In the 50s, were they still having trouble with the Comet planes crashing? I believe they were. And because they had the square windows on those planes, so like when they flew up so high, the planes would rip apart due to the pressure difference.
Are you talking about, the planes that, they look like a stick and look like this? It was weird.
No, like the Comets were passenger planes, but they had square windows instead of circular, so that after so many times of going up, they would just crumble apart because of the pressure.
Maybe, I don't know. I study ships, not planes.
Yeah, yeah. That's
I
what
think
I'm
that
saying.
was going on in the 50s, I believe.
The only thing that flies that I study are airships. That's the only thing. I don't study airplanes. I study like Hindenburg.
I was about
Zeppelins.
to ask you, have you ever heard of the Hindenburg?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were the ocean liners of the sky. That's what I call them. They were the ocean liners of the sky.
Wonder how long those would have lasted if Hindenburg didn't happen.
Well, I know her sister ship, the Graf Zeppelin. She was only in service for 2 years, and the Hindenburg accident happened, and then they went and scrapped her.
Mm-hmm.
Well, nothing bad when you have a giant balloon that's being held up by hydrogen. I can understand why people be hesitant to fly on it. Just
Why?
I mean, doesn't it
an
make
exploding
sense? Come
bomb?
on.
Let me
here.
go on it.
has anybody here ever seen the you ever heard of the Martian, the book and the
Mm-mm.
movie with Matt Damon?
I don't think so.
I think
I've heard of it, but no, not seen it.
He lives on it's a manned mission to Mars and he gets stuck on Mars, so it's about how he would survive. It's pretty good. Anyway, he accidentally fills his habitat up with hydrogen and almost blows the whole thing up. So
Ooh, yikes.
yeah, he's like, in the whole history of humanity, nothing bad has ever happened from setting hydrogen on fire. So
Of course not.
I have a question for you, Samuel. When you went to the Queen Mary, did you go into places you weren't supposed to, or that's just stupid
no,
people?
I didn't sneak around if that's what you mean.
Oh,
I
Did you try to
I did
hijack
Shut
the ship?
up!
Did you try to sail it away?
I did. I tried to go into B340. I tried to get permission to go in there and look around. But
I've been in there. Trust me, it's really spooky.
But they did. I did visit the. I just had a regular room, but they actually let me tour the Duke of Edinburgh suite. I did get to go in there, so that was cool.
When I went, they screwed up. They didn't give me a room, and it was paid for. So they were going to give me a regular room, and for some reason they gave me the Churchill suite. And one of my ex-friends said they fricked up backwards.
Yeah, because you paid for like a regular room and you got a suite.
I wouldn't complain.
And
My only issue with staying on the Queen Mary, like this is my only complaint. I wish the walls in between the rooms were thicker, because my neighbors got into a fight and I learned way too much about their personal lives.
Oh my.
Like the stuff they were arguing about made me so uncomfortable that I left the room. Like I could hear, I'm hearing so much family stuff. I'm like, I'm out. So I left. Like they need to, and I tried to make noise in the room, like, hey, I can hear you, like, you know how thin these walls are. But I'm like, nope, and I left. I'm out.
Dude, I would have asked for popcorn.
I'm not trying to be an eavesdropper, but y'all are yelling so loud and these walls are so thin.
I know what you mean, because I don't know who's in the chat. Okay, all I can say is this, because I gotta keep it cheap. All I can say is this: the second night I was on, I heard way too much stuff than I wanted to.
Okay.
Oh, that went on a
Um,
whole different route.
Yeah.
So
all right, we don't need this.
Sam, you might like on the RMS Titanic Reflections YouTube channel. I just recently talked to Bill Sauter and David Gallo. Bill
that was a good
Sauter
video.
worked on Queen Mary for many, many years.
Oh,
So he has a
blue
lot
eyes.
of really interesting stories about that. And we talked about it a little while. It's kind of a long discussion, but he does talk about it a lot during that. So it's really
Okay.
interesting. I had
will
no
subscribe
that
to
he
you,
worked
Jay.
on it for so long.
I will as soon as we're done.
I'm going to say you have to subscribe, but it's really interesting. I had no idea he had such a long history with the Queen Mary. I learned a lot just listening to him. But I had no idea like so much from the Olympic ended up on the Queen Mary, and just stuff like that. I mean, I was just totally fascinated by it.
Are you
Anywho,
familiar?
moving on, we have some other questions. Go ahead. You can go ahead.
Are you familiar
Sam, what
with
were you
the Are you familiar with the SS United States? Have you heard of
Yes.
it?
My grandmother sailed on the main voyage of the United States.
Yeah, it's in. Is it in what state is it in? Or I know it's in Pennsylvania, right?
Philadelphia. She's
Mhm.
been there since like
Yeah.
the
I really
90s.
it's just like the Queen Mary, like different ship, but historic ocean liner. But think Queen Mary, but they're not taking care of it. It's just sitting
It's
there.
funny.
You're
It's
right.
funny that a British ship is given like all the care while the American ship is left to rot.
I got a model
really
here.
wish they would take care of it. That's it. Yeah, you've got a model of it. I really wish they would. Was it? I know a cruise line actually talked about taking it and renovating it.
Norwegian Cruise Line. Yeah, I've been watching and studying her for a long time because she's one of my favorites.
I wish it would get the same treatment as the Queen Mary. That's me. But you know, there aren't.
Sorry.
Yeah, there aren't, as far as people are concerned, like cities and states and governments, there isn't a huge amount of interest in keeping these ships afloat. I'm honestly stunned we still have the Queen Mary. That's me. I'm stunned it's still around.
And again, a British ship over an American ship.
Well, look at the Queen Elizabeth. Look what happened to it. You know.
Don't get me started on that. I think
My
that's
other
sabotage.
grandmother sailed on the Queen Elizabeth as well.
Do we want to call it? What was the college name? The Seaside, or what did the Chinese name it? MBC.
The CY
The
University.
CY's University.
Wise University. Yeah.
By CY Tongue.
Anyway, what were those questions? Sorry, we got.
Okay, so we do have one quick question. I think, let's see. Was Captain William Turner of the Lusitania condemned for surviving the sinking?
The way I understand it is he
I'll be
was
right back.
he was kind of shamed for it. Correct me if I'm wrong. I am not an expert, but the way I understand it was he was kind of, they tried to blame him for it.
Ostracized.
What's that?
They ostracized him. You know, they didn't completely
Yeah,
blame
they tried
him,
to
but
blame him for it, but he was kind of acquitted of it. But I am not an expert. Like they didn't
Well,
say
yeah,
it was
sort
his
of like
fault.
as May was with Titanic.
Yeah, I'm pulling this information off of a documentary that I saw, so I haven't verified it, I haven't researched it, but like they tried to blame him for it. But now this film I watched was also very heavy into that the Lusitania was carrying weapons, so it's like they were trying to protect the British image. So take that for what it is. I don't know.
I think the reason why he survived, I think I saw this in the documentary, that he was pulled out of the water.
He went down with the ship.
Yeah,
he
so they
he
really
didn't
can't
leave
blame him if he did the right thing. He was knocked out, so it's not like he could have stopped him. Like, no, don't save me.
He was on the bridge on one of the bridge wings when the Lusitania began the final plunge. He never left the bridge throughout the sinking.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any hate for Captain Turner. No hate at all.
He did what he
The
could.
only captain in recent memory that I absolutely despise,
Oh, I already know where this is going.
is Captain Scatino
Yep.
of the Costa Concordia.
Or the Oceanus, because the captain of the
him too.
Oceanus did the same thing.
Seriously, what captain leaves his ship with 4,000 people on board?
A coward. That's a coward.
And of course, you gotta go close to shore to say hi to your friends. Hey, how's it going?
I like how you knew immediately where I was going with this as soon as I
Yeah.
started talking about it.
I tell me, I know shits. I know shits. I know what y'all are gonna talk about. I know what y'all are gonna say. I'm like, oh, here we go. I already know where this is going.
It's still shocking that something like that happened in 2012, but that's human error. That rock was marked. They knew it was there. That was all human error.
That should tell people, no matter how big or unsinkable, I keep disappearing. Unsinkable it is. If it's made by man, it's gonna sink. There's just
Well,
no
you see,
doubt about that.
That's another big topic that people discuss is like, how could the Titanic sink? The steel was weak, blah, 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 blah. The Titanic was not a weak or badly built ship. It was built like a warship. And you got to think, and I always do this in my videos, but under the iceberg impact, it was damaged from here to after the first funnel. This much space had small little punctures from the iceberg. That is a huge amount of damage. And yet the Titanic made it nearly 3 hours. So that should tell you how well built it was.
Yeah,
In
but
my
Yeah, I mean, I keep hearing things about saying how Titanic sank very quickly. I was like, since when is 2 hours and 40 minutes considered quick?
You know,
And yet
the
they
one-
never talk about Lusitania or Britannic,
right.
which sank in under an hour.
You know,
So
the one
it's just
ship
like-
that I need to research because didn't it take is the Republic? Are you all familiar with the Republic?
yes, I did see a
Yeah, some
documentary
3
about a
years
couple
before.
of years ago.
Yeah,
that-
and it
that
took
they were
like
looking for
12
treasures.
hours to sink. It took 12 hours to go.
12 hours? Dang.
Something like that, yeah.
That
Also
should
had
show
a very
people,
valuable cargo load, if I recall.
yeah,
Bunch
there
of
was like a
gold or
documentary
something.
a couple of years ago about the treasures on Republic. They tried to get them, but they never could.
Makes for an
I've
interesting
heard
story.
mixed things. I've heard mixed things about that. I don't know if it's true or not, but
But that should just show you how good Harlan and Wolf was at their job. Because I was watching a Titanic called Titanic Blood and Steel, and it's a good series. It's just so many inaccuracies. Like one of them was weak steel. I'm like, the weak wasn't steel, or the weak wasn't steel.
The steel wasn't weak.
The steel wasn't weak. Sorry, I haven't gotten a lot of sleep the past 2 days. The steel wasn't weak. And number two, when the Olympic and the Hawk situation, it was at the bow, and I was screaming at the TV. And Sarah thought, I saw something. I'm like, they got it wrong. It was at the start.
you see, when you're making
I saw
a TV
this,
show, like when you're making a TV show though, they want drama,
Yeah.
and you can't take it for fact. You cannot take it for fact.
Yeah,
So
but
I
what
mean,
you
I
said-
try to be a little bit lenient with TV shows, but now there's one show that fills me with rage, and it was that stupid coal fire documentary with those black mark photographs. I'm like, okay, A, that's not where the fire was. That's the mail room. I mean, like, and it would take 2 seconds to look at some blueprints to know where the fire was. But no, you have to dramatize it. And you see, to people who are not as informed as us, people who just have a passing interest in Titanic, you would believe it. You
Right.
would believe that documentary. And that's what ticks me off is false information to make money. Not getting something slightly wrong, like instead of saying 1,500 people died, you say 1,600. That's just an accident. That's a mistake. I can forgive that. But blatantly selling misinformation to sell your story to make money, I have issues with that.
That actually reminds me of some of the newspapers that say one of them says all passengers from Titanic saved, Titanic being towed from Halifax, or another one was 100 people died on Titanic, Titanic being towed back to Southampton, or like another one was everybody died, Titanic sinks under an hour. I'm like,
Yeah, but that I'm a little bit more lenient on that because that was at the time. They didn't know the
Yeah.
full story yet.
right.
They shouldn't have been pushing the story so quick, but
They should have
Well,
waited
whatever
like at least a day.
whatever sells papers.
yeah, but I'm talking in our time, 100 plus years later,
Right.
wanting to make a Titanic film. Oh, there was a fire. Let's do something with it. Do you see what
Speaking-
that's what I'm talking about.
Speaking of movies, Samuel, have you seen that cartoon movie with the octopus on it?
I know what you're talking about. I refuse to watch it.
I watched it.
I saw like 5 seconds of it and I turned it off. I'm like, oh,
I saw
no.
this one
Mm.
guy called the Nostalgia Critic review it, and
I'm not- I know what
yeah,
it is.
I didn't need to see any more of it.
I forced myself to watch it. At the end, I was laughing so hard. I'm like, what was this? I was laughing so hard.
The biggest I actually tried to watch Titanic 2, that crappy film from
Oh
like
my
10
gosh.
years ago.
Yeah,
And
there
as soon as I turned it on and I saw the Queen Mary with Titanic 2 over the Queen Mary's nameplate, I turned it off. I'm like, I'm done. Like, as soon as I saw, I'm like, you can even see that submarine that's there by the Queen
Yeah.
Mary.
That's the only reason why
Part
I watched
two,
it,
the
just to see the
sinking
Queen Mary.
continues.
That's the only reason why I watched it, just to see the Queen Mary. And
I've
when I
heard
showed,
some. Go ahead.
but when I showed my wife it at the end of the movie, her face was like,
It was so stupid. I
Doesn't
hated
the
it.
tidal wave throw an iceberg in front of the ship? Isn't that?
yes. And then there's a fire, and then it capsizes. You're like, geez, how much can happen to a ship in like one night?
Like, dang.
Like here's my deal. I get asked this question a lot in my chats and the live streams is what do I think of them actually building another Titanic? And I don't like the idea. I'm
I'm
because you
half and
gotta
half.
think the Titanic is a very small ship by modern day standards.
Mhm.
I'm okay with films, I'm okay with documentaries, historic expeditions,
Or maybe
but I don't
even a
like the
museum.
idea of them trying to capitalize it. You capitalize on the sinking. That billionaire is what I'm talking about. That billionaire who's wanting to build the ship.
Yeah.
I'm not crazy about that whole idea.
I'm half and half. I mean, if they build it, like the Chinese are, to make a museum, to remember what happened, I'm okay with that.
If
But
it's a museum, yes, I'm okay with it.
right?
But if they can't build a ship just like Titanic by today's standards. I mean, think about third class. They had 2 bathrooms in all of third class.
There's just so many more rules that there were back then. Soulless.
No, I'll get you my cake first.
There'd be no way.
I'll get you my cake first.
It just depends on how they do it. Depends on what they. I don't like the idea though. I don't like the idea because you got to remember it was a real tragedy. And I don't know. I'm very, very torn on it. I'd have to see it before I could give you a final opinion.
Speaking of torn, when I was messaging you over the phone, trying to get this interview, you told me not to mention Titanic Adventure Out of Time. I'm like, what? Like, wait, what?
Oh no, that was just me talking about my family history with that game. It was just me joking around. It was just me. I don't hate the game. It's just because of what happened with the game. That's all.
I was about to
What do
say,
you mean? What happened with the game? I thought it was fun.
Okay, so when it came out, I was super young. I was like 8, maybe 9. So the game was really complicated for me to go through it, but I was already obsessed with Titanic, so I really wanted to see the sinking. And so I convinced my mom, who she is not a gamer, my mother is not a gamer, but she played through the whole game for me over like a day or 2 and got me to the sinking. We created a save file so I could just run around the ship while it was sinking and look at stuff. And anyway, that night, she had a nightmare that we were on a speedboat and it hit an iceberg and sank. So the game is kind of infamous in my family because that's what I meant. It's just a funny little story.
I was say because
What are you guys talking about? Titanic Adventure Out of Time?
Yeah. It's just a story. It's just a funny little story from
Actually,
I just always found it interesting how the key to preventing both world wars were somehow on the ship on that very night.
I don't remember the story at all. I haven't played it in so long.
Oh, I play almost every day.
Adventure Out of Time group.
Yeah, Adventure Out of Time. That's what we're talking about.
I watched the endings again here and there again. Yeah.
What I would do sometimes, I would
played
get
it
shot
once all the way through.
I would get shot on purpose because I would think that's the funniest thing. Give me the ruby yacht. It would make me laugh. Even if
if you go down the ladder and the guy just like
I hated that part. That used to like give me nightmares.
Or the random times you turn around, the preacher guy's just right there. That creeps me out.
That guy is so creepy.
Hey.
Hey.
The part that traumatized me was the dude getting electrocuted in the electric bath.
Oh yeah, Willie Von Halens.
That traumatized me. And it's so cheesy by today's standards. It's so
I just thought that kind of looked silly. Just like, oh, he's gone. Okay.
Like, okay, bye.
For the time though, it's really cool. For the time, it's really cool.
I mean, even the graphics
so
today
really
are
cool. I love it.
the
I love
graphics today are not that bad.
Mama.
I think I've only played it once all the way through,
Joanna's chick.
and I was just like, I could not. I like literally played it the whole day because I loved it so much, but I haven't played it since. I need to
love
play
the
it again.
soundtrack. It is very addicting. It is
I remember like going into like the wireless room, and I would like have like my grandmother. I would like do this like stupid little thing where like I would actually type out messages and then she would like pay me $0.25 to like type them out just like it was on the ship.
I liked playing blackjack in the smoking room.
Stupid little gimmick.
Oh yeah, yeah, that is fun. I thought I'd play like 20 minutes of that. I'm like, oh shoot, I need to get back to the mission.
I know, right? Or I'd like just wander around the ship, like go into the Turkish bath and like just wander around there. You know, if you open up all the drawers in there, there's some little drawer in there that has an advertisement for a different game.
Oh really?
Oh really?
Some kind of game with a skeleton head on it, and then like some kind of monster truck game.
Oh
Because I'm
wow.
that person where I literally opened up every drawer in the entire place. And so in the Turkish bath, there's like ads for other games.
That's
So-
really cool. I like the details. I mean, honestly, for the time, that game was super ambitious. You know,
And even
That
for
was
now,
the
the,
late
the,
90s,
the
right?
graphics are pretty good. It was 1996. So
The
even
music wasn't half bad either.
Oh, I love
Oh,
the
the
music.
music
I like
was
the music.
creepy. Oh my goodness. I'd have to play it with the volume down. Then I have to turn it back up to talk to
In
people.
some
I have
areas,
to turn
like
it back down.
I believe
C-Deck
it's
is my
like
favorite.
D-Deck or the cargo hold. That music has sort of like this mysterious ambivalence to it.
D-Deck always scared me. Whenever I would play it, every time I got the D-Deck, I'm like, no. Okay. I hated that track.
Hunter Young wants to know if any of us have played Call of Duty Black Ops 4 Zombies on the Titanic. I'll be the first to answer. Hunter Young, I do not like zombies. I don't like them in any form, way, shape, or form. So my answer is no.
My
No.
answer is no.
I
Heck
think
no.
Are we talking
I
about my
think zombies
exes here,
are
or are we
way
talking
overused.
about actual
Like
zombies?
it's just the same generic thing done over and over. It's not interesting, and you're not bringing anything new to the table.
I have
It's
not
boring.
played Black Ops 4.
That's like a
if-
nightmare to me.
I've never played a Call of Duty game.
I
I
have.
played Modern Warfare. That's it.
Mine was like, mostly World War II. I didn't play any other Call of Duty games.
I played Battlefield 1 for
That was pretty good.
That's it.
I have one word to say: Halo. That's it.
No.
I like the theme song.
Halo Reach is the best game. Halo Reach.
I play PlayStation, so I don't know too much about Halo.
I actually
I
follow a
play PlayStation.
YouTuber named Spamos. He don't do a shit video that much anymore because he said he's trying to branch out. But there was this one Titanic game. He said not to play because it's so terrible. It was called Fall of the Titanic. It's it's like a maze where you have to get out during the sinking.
Oh yeah, I've played it.
I think
but-
I've seen that. I think I know which one you're talking about. I remember there was like a cutscene in that game. It was towards the end, and it had the ship sinking by the stern, and you got the bow rising out of the air, and you're just like, what?
Yeah, I'm like this. I'm like, okay, I'm done.
Take it for what it is though, because the game I played the game, I paid for it. It was like $3. So and it was made by one guy. So honestly, for what he did, I thought it was passable.
Yeah.
But for one guy just on his own initiative, it's not trying to be accurate. It's just a kind of a puzzle thing. For one guy on his own initiative, fine. I'm okay with it. But that's all.
Like
it is.
what-
If it was $5,
What
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, you're good. Go ahead. I'm done.
I was just gonna say I kind of like what Tanner Lily said. Ghostbusters 2 did it better. I really do kind of like that scene in Ghostbusters 2 where they come like out because I'm old and I don't know. I like
Joanna,
that.
if you
because,
say
like,
that one more time, I'm gonna keep making fun of
You're
you.
not
That's why I
old.
keep making fun
well,
of
I
you.
do. I like that scene because I kind of like Titanic. Finding Titanic references in odd places, and that to me when I was young and watching
Better late
that,
than
I was like,
never.
oh look, it's Titanic.
Yeah, but did Titanic there look like it had like like it
Huge
was
freaking hole.
torpedoed, like just
Yeah,
a giant
yeah.
hole
Well,
in
it did
it?
kind of have a big hole in it, but I mean,
Like it was
still a
torpedoed?
Titanic reference in a
It's-
big movie like that because that was big at the time, and I was like, look, it's
Ghostbusters.
Titanic.
It's Ghostbusters.
I was just a little kid, It's like, whoa.
When you see references in other movies, it doesn't have to be 100% accurate.
Right.
Yeah, there was this one show that I've recently come into, Downton Abbey. It's about like the English aristocracy.
I've
And
heard
it's
of
like-
it. I haven't watched it, but I've heard of it.
Yeah, it's like where like the heir to the earldom, he was on the Titanic, and he died on the ship, and
Get
like
down.
the whole show was about like getting another guy into the earldom and just like trying to set it up. It was a very good show. I definitely
did.
recommend it.
Doesn't it have I forget her name, but doesn't it have the lady in it that played Professor McGonagall in Harry Potter? Isn't
Oh, I
she-
love
Oh,
that
yes,
actor.
yeah.
She's a great actor.
Maggie Smith.
I did watch The Crown though. The Crown is super good. If you're interested in British history, like the royals and stuff.
Yeah.
I have a question. Samuel, if you had to choose any room, oh wait, well before I ask this, back to Adventure Out of Time. The only problem I had with it was the Turkish bath. They used Olympics instead of Titanic. So I'm like, Titanic was on the opposite side, guys. I forgot to ask Bill Sauter, why did they use Olympics, or did they just not know at the time? I wanted to ask him that, but I
I know
forgot.
the answer.
Oh, well, we're going ahead, join it.
Because I did actually talk to Bill about this. I don't know if it was on camera or off, but he said that like he offered his assistance to help them with Titanic Adventure all the time, and they turned him down at first, and they just kind of went on their own route, and so they started getting things wrong, and then they finally were like, okay, maybe we do need a Titanic person helping us out. So yeah,
Maybe?
they did get, yeah. So, yeah, they did get some things wrong at first. So that's why
Imagine
some
that.
things are a little off.
Yeah.
Well, why didn't they fix it though when he came on? I mean, or was it too late?
It was kind of too late because, you know, that kind of stuff is expensive.
It's still a
To
great
redo.
game though.
Titanic Honor and Glory. So I don't think that they went back and fixed the things that they got wrong. But I think when Bill Sauter came on board, literally they did listen to him then. You know, they did take his suggestions then. But he says he's never played it. I'm like, dude, you gotta play this game.
Yeah, it's still a
Everybody
great game.
loves
That sounds
Titanic
weird to me.
Adventure at a time.
It's one of my favorites.
You know,
So
the
I think he did really contribute to it, and I think, you know, without Bill Sauter, you know, it wouldn't be what it is today.
right.
You know, I don't think he didn't contribute to the characters or anything like that, because there really aren't any historical characters. I think he really did contribute to, you know, what makes Titanic Adventure out of time, you know, so great.
What it is.
You know, when you look around and all the fine details, what's right, that's Bill Sauter right there.
I only remember,
you know,
I
the
remember
stuff that's
one
wrong.
thing. Right. I remember one thing about the game that did disappoint me. And this is just me being super young at the time and I'm not understanding the limits of technology. But you know how, like, during the sinking, as time goes by, you'll see different rooms begin to flood, like it'll trigger cutscenes.
Yeah.
But you can still actually walk into those rooms and they're dry. So, like, I remember watching the Grand Staircase dome implode, and then I walk into the Grand Staircase and there's no water in there, and I'm like, oh.
Or like the ship is
Come on,
the ship
man.
is at this angle and you're still like walking on almost level ground.
Yeah. I remember that disappointed me, but I'm like, I mean, at the time, I get it. But so what I would do is I would make it up on my own. So, like, when I saw a certain room flood to make the game more challenging, I would stay away from those rooms and try to hang back. Makes sense.
They should redo that game. Seriously, they should, like, make a remake of that
you get it on
game.
Steam. I think it's on Steam.
Oh, that's where I
Oh,
bought
yeah.
mine
Yeah,
from.
it was. I mean, I haven't played it for years. Like I haven't played it for like 6 or 7 years, but yeah.
It is on Steam, and then I have a patch where I can actually, you know, put the disc in and actually play with the old disc. You know, but I have to have like some kind of like patch. I have like Windows 7 on my old laptop, and then I have this like patch thing to where I can like actually play off the old disc. It's really cool.
That is cool.
Play it on Steam as well, but yeah, Titanic Adventure of Time is just a classic.
For what it
And there's
is, I think
Roblox, which, you know, Roblox Titanic, Roblox Britannic. I am not a gamer, by the way, but
Those games are awesome. There's also like a
terrible at those.
I was Roblox Titanic's biggest troll, so
yeah, that's where I met her,
When I
but
was
we
a
didn't
kid.
know each other. Yeah, we didn't know.
I keep falling out of the lifeboats and drowning.
There's actually
it's like one little misstep and you just
oh
down in the water. Or I've fallen
like-
straight through the deck floors before.
I know. I'm like, what happened? I was here and now I'm like dying.
That's a little glitch right there.
There's actually these games on Roblox. You know, they're kind of like, walkthroughs of ships. There's this one guy making them. He's made a Titanic, Olympic, Britannic at the hospital ship, and a passenger liner. He's also made this Titania, and he's always updating them. They are gorgeous. I mean, it's not the best. I don't know why I keep doing this.
No, you're disappearing.
Oh.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Well,
I'm
guys, I'm gonna have to go here in a few minutes because I've got more children to get off the bus.
Yeah, I'm gonna need to wrap it up here in a minute too.
So
Sam,
Sam, tell us about what
been a
future
good one.
projects you have planned and what we can expect in the future. Because I definitely want to get off of here and go subscribe to your channel.
Thank you.
And so tell us all about what we can look forward to.
Well, for future projects, as soon as eventually I'm gonna start doing some travel videos. You know, like I want to go back to visit the Queen Mary. I want to go back to New York City and visit some of the landmarks there. But I'm also Titanic's always going to be a general focus. Titanic's always going to be something that I focus on. I may start on it today. I may start on it tomorrow, but I do have a video in the works. And yeah, so I'll give you a hint to the topic. It has to do with the sinking from 2 a.m. to 2:10 a.m. That's
Ooh, I already know.
There's your hint.
I already know.
But yeah, Titanic will always be a main theme, with on occasion venturing off into other topics. And yeah, that's kind of how I'm always doing my channel. I want to do a historic channel, but I like to do things in 10-minute segments and cover a certain story. Like, are you familiar with the Allison family?
Yes.
You know about Lorraine Allison and all them. I did a 10-minute video just about her. I did a 12-minute video about Violet Jessup, you know, who was on board all 3 ships, who was on board the Olympic, Titanic, and Britannic. I talk about her, Captain Smith, but I take all these stories about Titanic and divide them up into 10-minute intervals. Why did the power stay on? Why did it break in 2? Blah, 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 blah. So that's all. Try to make it simple, easy to go along with, and not dive too technically into it, but enough information so people know what I'm talking about.
Well, Sam, I just would like to thank you for taking time out of your I'm pretty sure busy schedule to come talk with us. It has been great. We just want to let you know that Fox Starline and Titanic Reflections support you and your work, and I hope that we can do this again sometime.
Hey, anytime, man. You just reach out to me, and I'm more than happy to work with you guys.
I mean, I got Messenger, and you are more than welcome to post your videos on our group, and I'm pretty sure you're more than welcome to post your videos on Joanna's group. I'm pretty sure she'll agree with that.
Yeah,
Joanna,
definitely.
make sure you leave me a comment or a message or something so I can find your channel as well. I really want to look at it.
And what's the name of your channel again? Just remind everybody that's watching and everybody that will watch this again.
Historic Travels.
Historic Travels. So we just want to thank everybody for watching on behalf of Fox Starline, on behalf of RMS Titanic Reflections. Tell us again, Sam.
Historic Travels.
Historic Travels. Look,
That's my
I
channel.
didn't forget. I just wanted him to say it again.
Okay.
Guys, stop it. I'm not that old. God.
I wanted a name, so even though I talk about Titanic a lot, I can venture out into other things as well. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Okay, everybody look for Historic Travels. I'm gonna go subscribe now. Everybody have a lovely afternoon. Try to stay warm.
Yeah.
Everybody, Sarah,
thank you
take
so
away.
much. It was a pleasure being here. Thank you all for the invitation.
Have a good
It's a
one.
pleasure for you to be here too, sir.
Bye.
Bye. Have a good day.
Yeah.
Keep calm and sail on,
Bye.
everybody.
Bye-bye.
Amelia, tell everybody bye. Amelia wants to tell everybody bye.
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 See ya.
Bye, honey.
Bye.
Have a good one.
Bye.